Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to look at our modern digital lives through a slightly different lens. Think of it like opening up a storybook to uncover a very real, very modern mystery. Why is our hyper-connected global village actually suffering from a silent epidemic of isolation?
Okay, so let's dive right into this bizarre, magical paradox we're living in. Imagine a world where we all hold these glowing rectangles in the palms of our hands that can instantly connect us to literally anyone across the globe. By every logical metric, we should feel completely socially fulfilled, right? We can peek into the daily updates of everyone we've ever met. Yet global health organizations are warning of skyrocketing anxiety. We are surrounded by thousands of virtual friends, but somehow our souls remain completely starved for substance.
Section 1. Empty treats versus real feasts. To really wrap our heads around this modern curse, we have to look back at the ancient hardware of our brains. For millions of years, our brains were built for tribal survival. But today, that same exact hardware is being completely tricked by digital treats. Our brains developed this incredibly complex reward system to encourage real human interaction. But modern apps are basically engineered to hijack it. Every single time you post a photo or share an update, you trigger a microscopic hit of dopamine. Every like, share, and comment feels like a digital treat. It's an addictive rush of social validation. But here is the catch. Dopamine is the hormone of anticipation, not satisfaction. It just keeps you looping and scrolling, literally feeding you microscopic, empty digital calories.
And that brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're missing, because while we're gorging on dopamine, we're completely starved of oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is the hormone of deep trust and long-term bonding. It's like the hearty, nourishing feast of genuine intimacy. But you just can't get it through a screen. It's only generated through things like eye contact, shared physical spaces, synchronized breathing, and real physical presence. So your brain registers all that digital attention, but the soul remains entirely hungry.
Section 2. Wearing the shiny mask.
As we traded those real-world feasts for empty digital treats, the very nature of friendship completely morphed. It went from a deep, qualitative bond into this sort of theatrical performance. Think about it. Before the internet, a friend was someone you shared a meal with, or who helped you move your couch. Today, social platforms have transformed friendship into a set of quantitative metrics. We're talking follower counts, subscriber milestones, direct message streaks. These scorecards basically turn our social circle into an audience to be managed, which really reduces human connection down to a simple numbers game.
And obviously, when you're managing an audience, you kind of have to put on a show. You can't easily show an audience your raw, unfiltered vulnerabilities. Instead, you wear a shiny mask, what psychologists actually call the performative self. Because we only share our polished, highly optimized highlights, any praise or attention we receive is actually directed at the performance, not the person. Consequently, the flawed, totally real human sitting alone in the dark behind the screen feels completely invisible, even if a post goes viral.
Section 3. The illusion of closeness.
So, this performance builds into a massive false sense of community, largely through the super common act of infinite scrolling. Our brains easily confuse passive lurking, which is just watching someone's life unfold on a screen without saying a single word, with active bonding. When you spend hours consuming visual data about a coworker's new pet or a classmate's vacation, your brain registers a false sense of familiarity. It gives us this really comforting illusion of proximity without requiring any actual emotional work. And because you mistake knowing about someone for actually knowing them, you just stop making the real-world effort to call or meet up. After all, why call them when you just watch their entire weekend play out on a story?
Section 4. The highlight monster.
But this passive lurking comes with a pretty heavy price tag. As we wander through these digital woods, we inevitably run into the beast of upward social comparison. Humans naturally evaluate their worth by comparing themselves to others. But today, you aren't just comparing yourself to your actual neighbors. Think about the stark contrast. You are constantly comparing your unedited, messy reality of errands, fatigue, and casual clothing to the heavily filtered fairy tales of the top 1%. You're literally weighing your routine relationship maintenance against highly photogenic grand gestures and professionally lit aesthetics. When you're constantly bombarded by these optimized fairy tales, a really deep sense of inadequacy starts to set in. This cultural dysmorphia breeds envy and shame, making us resent our completely normal, ordinary lives. And because shame naturally causes people to withdraw, we end up retreating even further into our digital shells, which just accelerates our digital loneliness as we hide away from the real world.
Section 5. The Troll Under the Bridge.
Lurking beneath this entire digital landscape is an invisible force actively trying to set the village against itself. And it's crucial to remember that the primary goal of major platforms isn't to make you happy, it's to maximize user retention and ad revenue. Algorithms quickly discovered that the absolute best way to keep a human glued to a screen is to trigger high-arousal negative emotions, think moral outrage and fear. So they customize our feeds to confirm our biases and vilify outside groups. This systematically destroys our shared social reality. When we step offline into our geographic communities, we no longer see neighbors, we see algorithmic adversaries. This completely erodes local trust, making physical spaces feel hostile and driving us right back into the safety of our isolated screens.
Section 6. Breaking the digital spell.
But hey, like any good fable, all hope is not lost. We don't have to throw away our glowing rectangles and live as hermits in the woods. We just need to learn how to use this magic safely again. To break the curse, we have to transition from using tech as an emotional crutch to using it purely as a bridge to real-world tribes. Here are 3 actionable spells to do exactly that. First, shift to high-friction communication. Stop relying purely on low-effort texts. Pick up the phone, hear someone's vocal inflections, or actually meet face-to-face. Second, establish tech-free sanctuaries. Make your dinner table or the first 30 minutes of your morning a zone where screens are strictly forbidden, allowing your mind to rest. And third, pivot from passive consumption to active community. Use local platforms to find running clubs, book clubs, or volunteer groups. Build true belonging through shared physical activity over time.
Let's just sit with this profound truth for a moment. This screen will never love you back. It can absolutely provide endless entertainment, convenience, and a fleeting sense of visibility from those quick dopamine hits, but it will never, ever replace the grounding safety and oxytocin-rich nourishment of tangible human connection.
Overcoming digital loneliness really requires us to take our emotional power back from the metrics and the algorithms. It is time to completely dismantle the paradox of digital loneliness. So my question to leave you with today is this. Will you look up from the feed, look into someone's eyes, and reclaim the authentic connections you were evolved to have? What real-world tribe will you seek out today?